I'm going to start this one off showing the procedure for removing the meters on this deck. It's a very easy process. 2 screws right here. And then unplugging the meter amp. It isn't difficult. I'm just trying to let the camera see what I'm doing. Just a little bit careful there. Make sure the pin's clear. And then just wiggle out that meter amp. And see the connections on that. And just kind of putting a little upward pressure so it doesn't scratch the lenses, and it comes right out. I'm going to change out these clear bulbs, these clear lamps. These are kind of undesirable aesthetically, and they're also high current. They're about double the current of the lamps that are spec'd for this deck. So there you see about 105 milliamps. At 8 volts. And then the replacement lamps are frosted, and I sell these. I'll put a link on the bottom. I sell these on eBay, and I'm down to my last set, but by the time this is uploaded, I should have some fresh inventory of these. So if you do order them and there's a delay of 3 or 4 days, that's the reason why. But I will have these after that. So you can see these are about 55 milliamps, or about half the current of the other ones, and about the same brightness level and much more diffused. And I just cover up the works with Post-it notes to keep anything from getting in there. And then the new ones just get soldered in place. I also clean up the old flux or whatever they had that didn't look so good. We'll get these boards out, and this gets the full recap. And I'll just do that off camera. I've done those in the past. I've got full documented videos of those. And with all that being done, now it's time to do some tests. This video will also serve to document the performance for the owner. I'll put in my trusty RCA wound flutter tape. These are full track recordings, and so I can use both sides. Might help if I turn the signal on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's the kind of result I'm getting on the flutter. This is not just in spec, but better than factory spec. And really these are about where these should run. This machine does not have a lot of wear on it. So of course I'm happy with that. Now that I've put the cassette holder back in the door, I need to check my azimuth one last time, because this does have a pressure bar on it to stabilize the tape, the cassette shell. I've also got the scope running up on top. I'm watching both of them. Of course, there's nothing at 15.8. This tape is recorded at 10 kilohertz. So following that, I want to check and probably have to adjust the record head azimuth and make certain it's aligned with the repro head. Yeah, I'll make a little correction on this. I'm going to have to fuss with this for just a minute, because you can see I'm having a hard time locating the screws correctly because of the camera positions and angles. So it takes me a second on this, but I get it dialed in. This is the third or fourth time I've done this, because first I just evaluated it, and in the first video I showed how far off it was, and then I do it again following the overhaul of the transport, and I do that without the deck or the door on. And so this is at least the third time I've corrected the azimuth on this, and that turned out very good. Just need to do the repro frequency response.
Calibration.
I'll go through this really fast.
The reference tone of 315 cycles per second. It is recorded at minus 20 decibels level. Note the
Of course,
output
even though
meter
he
reading
says
as a
it's
reference.
recorded at
The volume control may be
minus 20
readjusted
dB, it's
to
minus
indicate
24.
exactly minus 20 decibels
It's marked
level.
right on the tape.
Do not change the volume control hereafter.
Okay, I'll just fast forward through all this. When I got to the 10 kilohertz tone, I made a small correction. These do not have all the controls that the Mark II, the predecessor to this one, has. This only has internal bias and levels for type 1 tape, and then it has a no EQ control, and then it has a single trim pot for the type 2 and type 4 tape. And so it's absolutely necessary to use the external controls, the bias and level controls on this, to get, other than whatever you first biased the deck for, any other tape used, it's necessary to use those controls. And this is fine. I prefer the manual controls myself. Okay, so just one more time on the flutter. I've had this deck running now for an hour or so, And I just want to go back and make sure that after running in for a little bit, it doesn't change. It actually maybe even got a little bit better. And just check my speed also. Now I have to make a little correction on the pitch trim on that one. Just quickly get that dialed in. It should be pretty stable now. Okay, we'll test the bass frequency response on the Type 1 tape after I've done the adjustments on it. This machine was very unique in the sense that there wasn't a single parameter on this one that was in spec. It's almost as though I opened it up and turned every screw I could find randomly before I started working on it. Really amazing. I think there was one thing that wasn't off, but so I haven't seen one that everything's off on, but this one everything was. All right, so I'll get my levels set up here, and I'll take a few seconds and really dial in the left and right channels on it. The owner uses this machine to do limited production runs of custom tapes, and so this will get a good workout. This one will be doing a lot of recording, and I want to get everything for him just as good as I can get it. And I really expect him to be shocked and amazed at the quality of the recordings. Maybe shocked isn't the right word, maybe surprised and amazed. Okay, so we'll just do the playback, and I'm superimposing, and so you can see that the left and right channels look very balanced, very similar. I do match capacitors in the signal path, and on this one got the upgrade to the Nichicon Muse bipolars in the signal path. I don't do that universally. I listen to it first and then make a decision on it, and I thought this one would benefit from it, and it does. It sounds very good. Okay, so I'm going to set my low response to stop at 400 hertz so that it doesn't take quite so long to go through this. The bass won't change. I'm interested in the high end now. Well, that was the recorded signal. Here is the repro signal on playback. You can see levels are spot on. Okay, I'm looking really good at 10 kilohertz. And somewhere between 16.5 and 17.5, I expect to go below that minus 3 dB, and that's correct in that. And then even on the Type 1 tape here, I've got good extended response. And again, this is the playback signal. This is not the recorded, the signal being monitored off the recording. So it looks very similar, left to right channels. And that makes me happy. And that is unadjusted. That's the base calibration with the internal trim pots. Now, I also, of course, did the TDK SA, the Type 2 tape, very similar. Gained about 1,000, maybe 1,500 hertz on that, which is correct. And then I'll go over to the metal tape here. Now I'll quickly do the recorded signal, and I want to demonstrate why it's so important to judge the frequency response off of the playback, not off monitoring the recorded signal. Okay, so you can see up here a little bit of difference in the two channels. This is where the manual controls on the outside come into play, and balance that out. Do it one more time. Looks like I'm getting about at the end of the tape here. Okay, the levels are a little high, but that's expected, going from type 1 to type 4. Okay, so here's where I need to use those controls. Now let's take a look at our frequency extension here using the recorded signal. I'm sorry, using the monitored signal off the recording. And I'll show you how much difference there is between that and the actual recorded signal. Okay, so 31 kilohertz, 33, 35. So somewhere between 35 and 37 kilohertz is where the signal's falling off. Now, apparently, this is laying down signal on this tape at 35, 36 kilohertz. But is it really? Well, it's not. And let's see what signal is actually being recorded to the tape. Okay, so that's fairly similar at 20 kilohertz. Now here we go. Okay, so at 27, I've got both channels. At 29, I've only got the right channel. 31, I've got nothing. So that's a big difference between 27 and the 35 or 36 that it was showing before. That's why it's important to judge it off of the playback, not off the monitoring the recording. Now, why am I even looking at these numbers way up here where we can't hear them or sense them? Well, the main reason is to help me know that I dialed in the azimuth on the record head accurately to the repro head. If there's much off on those on that adjustment, I will never see these kind of frequencies. So this just helps me know that I did the other job correctly. Okay, so now what I'm showing here is the adjusted, of course I've done that off camera, but the adjusted level and bias with the front controls. And see, what I did basically is I got it balanced, left and right channels, and I got the levels set more correctly. The other part of the extended frequency response like this, and the reason I pay attention to it, is of course the subharmonics that are affected positively, and also just the electronics. If there's a lot of noise, circuit noise and things like that, it will show up. This will be subdued, or it will be attenuated, and it just helps me know that everything's been dialed in as accurately as I can get it. So also going to use the same tape, the same metal tape, to do a distortion sweep. And you can see on the meters deflection that it's hitting the peaks, which are plus 8 dB. So it's at least plus 8 dB. It could be a little bit more than that. And I want to look here. Spec on this deck, I believe, is point. I think it's asking for 2%. I'm sorry, 2%. So this is roughly 2% at around 5 dB, or between 5 and 6 dB, plus 5 or 6, which is excellent. And then the other number I want to look at is at 0. And so there's around 0.5%, 0.75% at 0 dB, which is also very good. I'm pleased with that. I'm really just showing a few of the tests I've done here, not nearly all of them. And I've also run it and listened to it quite a bit, and I'm very happy with its performance. Okay, let's take a look at the noise floor, signal to noise ratio on it. Start off here with Dolby off. Yeah, I can't point it with that screwdriver. I'll just point with my finger. So somewhere around minus 58 dB with Dolby off on this metal tape. There's Dolby B. Now, I don't know if he's using the internal Dolby or if he has external, or even if he's using noise reduction at all. But in any event, let's just check it out and make sure that it's operating correctly. So 67 on Dolby B, again, very respectable number. Dolby C around 70, 74 and some change. And this is with, the cover off with all kinds of different lights and cameras and switching transformers and everything running in the background. So I would expect this to be slightly better than this when everything's together and it's sitting in a rack. Do the same test on a Type 1 tape, which is likely what he'll be recording on. I don't know. Switch to Dolby off. Similar, about what I'd expect. So this one got the full Cadillac rebuild, as one of my customers coined it, even though I'm more of a Lincoln Continental kind of guy. But I'm very pleased with it, and I think he'll get many years of service out of it as well. And if he feels like posting his impressions, I'd be happy if he would. Dolby B. Here's the Dolby C. And so this is all operational the way I expect it to work. So I think what I'll do is just show maybe an overall view of the interior. I've got a couple more little things to finish up, and then I'll try to get around 40 or 50 hours of operation time on it before I crate it up and send it back to him. And there's what it looks like after it got tidied up a bit. So once again, thank you for watching. I appreciate it.